Hey guys, what's up? I want to make a new video just showcasing the animation changes I've been working on for the last week and a half. So I've got my alt account over here so that we can see, first person, third person, and then what opponent would look like doing all this stuff. Um, Originally, I tried to work with a contractor on some of these animations, and I did end up working with them on the idle animation, which I think looks really good. But for the combat animations, I think there's so much nuance to the directional combat that it was very difficult to coordinate with someone because there's just a lot of details on, what's going to look smooth when you're morphing or when you're, fainting between animations, what kind of blends are going to look smooth and what won't, what'll be hard to read. Nuances on like the angle the sword needs to take if you want to be able to really precisely aim your swing and hit someone in the knee or the ankle or the ear. The swing kind of has to be a certain way for those aim adjustments to really look smooth. Then in addition to the animations themselves, I made quite a few changes to the way the game actually uses the animations to blend between states and such. So one example would be now the way the sword bounces off a block is quite a bit more realistic. You can see it really follows the exact same trajectory that the swing was taking before the block. Um, and so I think there's a lot of little things like that that just make all the combat feel a little weightier, even aside from the actual animation changes. So if we want to take a look at some of these changes in particular, we got side blocks, up block. That one changed quite a bit. I think this one looks pretty good. Down block, and the down left and down right blocks. And then from first perspective, I tried to like level out the sword a bit on some of these so it's just more visually clear exactly which direction you're blocking. So I think from first person, you now can really see a little more clearly exactly which way you're blocking. One of the other things I worked quite a bit on is the first person view has some minor camera adjustments that it will make that scale with your FOV so that your sword from first person is relatively similarly visible even when you reduce your FOV. Before, some people like to play with a little lower FOV, but then if you zoomed in, you couldn't really see your sword at all. And that's still the case if you go crazy with it. If you're playing from some kind of crazy sniper scope, then you're not going to be able to see your sword very well. But the default when you load the game is 120. I'd say anything in the kind of 110 to 130 range. I think it looks pretty nice now. So there's that. In terms of the swings themselves, the stab changed quite a bit. So the stab now doesn't transition you from left stance to right stance. You stay in the same stance you were in. So you can see that from third person. I'm just out of range there. And I think that makes it a little bit easier to aim because your hips aren't rotating alongside the movement. So the range is about when my cursor turns red there. You can get a little further than that with a stab. And I think that makes it a little easier to like drag right onto where you're aiming. So if I want to hit him, in the knee with a bit of a drag, I think I can do that a little bit more consistently now. Slightly short on that one because his left knee is pretty far back. There we go. Then for for all the swings, I also worked a little bit on the elbows on the recovery. I think they used to come a little bit too far back. Now it's a little bit more natural. I think particularly on these down lateral swings, the recovery looks quite a bit better from third. That was one of the things that I didn't like. And then I think for all of them, they just feel a little heavier and weightier when you're swinging. So let's see what it looks like when we're having this guy swing at us. Sorry, I'm doing this one-handed on my laptop. So yeah, so you can see the charge animation. It tends to look a little different in game because people aren't just standing perfectly still, obviously. Sorry, camera got rotated. I'm looking down. Let me see if I can get to a more neutral stance. There we go. So yeah, I think that helps. Then of course the idle positions also are gonna affect the movement because you're kind of in idle while you're moving. Um, with this one giant helmet, I still need to adjust the angle a tiny bit because the horns stick out and can collide with the sword a little bit sometimes. All the other helmets are fine, whereas this one just has a much bigger hitbox. So something still to work on there. But yeah, I think that's the majority of it. I think particularly the first-person view, the difference is really noticeable. But I think everything just feels a little cleaner and a little better, so I'm pretty happy with the result. Got to duel with Titus a fair amount yesterday, and I'm used to using a longer sword. And it felt really smooth. So overall, super happy. Love to hear you guys' feedback. Thanks for watching.